So the title of Sixx AM's new album is called Modern Vintage. Guys, what does this phrase mean to you?
Well, I think that sonically speaking, is really, I think, what inspired us first and foremost is that we have such different influences as individuals, but then we also have some musical influences that are very similar. And I think that on this record in particular, we really made sure that we allowed those influences to show through, more so than in our past records, be it in the way that a vocal was arranged, or the way that a melody line was written, or the way a guitar solo was performed. So I think just right off the bat, it really, really describes the sonics of this record.
Yeah.
And then I think that, you know, as we've been discussing this video, it then of course worked its way into the imaging of it as well. And I think that's kind of the point that we're at right now, is figuring out what that means to us visually.
When we first sat down to talk about making this record, we were sitting in a circle at my house.
We do that a lot.
We do that a lot, right? We do. We talk a lot.
Eat pizza.
And then magic happens. Like because we're so close, we'll talk about something that we're really passionate about, and then we just set out on that journey, and it comes really fast. We're all like-minded at that point. And I said to the guys, let's make a record that we would be willing to be embarrassed by. And we all talked about that, and what that meant was to not make a record that has any boundaries at all. We have a song on the album that's ragtime that you would not expect from a band in 2014, and we were willing to do that. We have songs that are influenced, like James said, by a lot of different styles. And the first 6 songs that we wrote for the record, I will tell you that the closest they would ever get to a radio would be as if we were playing in our car and drove past a radio station. They were really out there, but we accomplished our goal, which was to really just write this really obscure music that was pulled from the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, and then we started putting it through the Sixx AM filter, and it gave it that modern vintage sound.
Yeah,
and that's how we got here.
I had to really do a lot of homework because I was born in 1992, so...
That's a lie.
No, but that's what I've always loved about Sixx AM is our ability to push each other artistically, and I think that's what's so cool about every album. We have actually pushed each other harder, and this has topped them all, and I'm so, like, just, wow, we did it, you know.
I'm excited for people to hear it.
Yeah.
And not scared.
Yeah, no.
No, I'm ready.
Omar, Anthony, how does this phrase inspire you when you think of hairstyles?
You know, the phrase modern vintage, to me, it refers to evolution. You know, in professionally and personally, it's kind of looking back what you've done, whether good or bad, and moving forward and, you know, updating it for what's happening now and making, you know, whatever choices that may be.
The words for me spark, you know, the word reinvention. You know, it's kind of like grabbing something from the past that inspires you, and how can you as an individual artist put your spin on it, you know? So a group of 3 of you guys doing that is like magic right there. I think when modern vintage, if someone gave those words to me, like you were saying, I would have to do some homework and really, what is it about vintage first that would grab my attention? What is it? A picture from a book? Is it a poem, a vintage? You know, what is it? And then that's when the sparks start flying in your circle discussions, and that's when it happens. You know, and you create your own. Everyone's going to be, you know, have their own version of a modern vintage, but
we're always pulling from the past. Whether it's 100 years back, 50 years back, 5 years back, we're pulling it. We're pulling it forward and reinventing. And fashion, music, you know, cars.
I mean, ragtime is a kind of a forgotten about genre of music, if you think about it, and the fact that, you know, we created something that sounds like it's from that era is really cool.
What's always exciting to me is when I'll be working with young artists and they have a very distinctive sound, I'll say, you know, who are your influences? And they'll mention somebody from back, even before my generation. And what's so interesting to me is how their interpretation of that genre of music, like for instance, let's just say somebody is inspired by the Rolling Stones. Well, some young 18-year-old kid today, their interpretation of the Rolling Stones is going to be very different than yours or my interpretation, and that's what excites me as a producer and as a music fan today, is to listen to the reinvention continuing to happen over and over and over, generation to generation. And it's like, wow, why didn't I hear that? And when I was learning when I was listening to AC/DC,
Maybe you were too close to it at the time.
Maybe so, it's a product of their environment. It's for a young kid to listen to Motley Crue today with all of this social media is a very different experience than when you were listening to Motley Crue.
Wild Side video.
Yeah, so it's
Indiana.
Yeah, so it's exciting to me, just that constant reinvention.
Both the beauty and music industries seem to share a lot in common when it comes to image. Why do you guys think that is?
Me, I think that the arts is just one big tribe of people. It doesn't matter what kind of art you're making. It doesn't matter if you're doing hair, if you're painting paintings, if you're writing poetry. To be artistic, to be expressive is we're all in a tribe. And I think that that's just that is probably the most inspiring thing about.
And I feel it when I'm walking down the street. If I see another creative person, it's kind of like there's almost like a nod of acknowledgement. You're willing to be an individual, and that's really what it's all about. The only people that can't sit at this table are lawyers.
Right.
Yeah, that's a different tribe. We're at war with that tribe.
Yeah, I think it's for me, like what Omar talks about it, I've talked about it. For us, music has been a huge inspiration. So I think it's just a natural reflection, and like we share the stage doing hairstyling and cutting and educating and things like that, and you guys are on the stage putting your creations out there the same way we put our creations out there. So again, like what you said, we're all creative minds. Yeah, and it's a direct reflection.
I've cut my own hair for years. You've done the same thing.
Yeah.
You guys make music. We could just make this a 5-piece.
There you go.
I actually didn't bring a drummer today, so.
I play a little.
You play drums?
Oh, great.
We're good. Okay, we got it. We got to cut on a drum set.
Hey, I'm DJ Ashba.
I'm James Michael.
I'm Nikki Sixx.
I'm Anthony Cress.
I'm Omar Antonio.